President Tito's funeral is underway. A man has been charged in connection with the occupation of the Iranian embassy in London.
Good evening. Yugoslavia is at a standstill as the nation pays its final...
Good evening. Poland's military rulers have agreed to allow Pope John Paul to revisit his homeland. Martial law...
Good evening.
Good evening. A mood of jubilation has swept South Korea, following the surprise announcement by the ruling party that direct presidential elections should be held. In the capital, Seoul, people
Good evening. Foreign mercenaries who tried to overthrow the government of the Maldives have fled by boat after Indian paratroopers landed on the island nation.
Good evening, ATV's News at 8 for Monday the 5th of June. Tonight, the Beijing crisis is continuing, with troops still reported to be attacking civilians in the streets.
各位，港督發表上任以嚟嘅第3份施政報告。
Good evening. Tonight, Soviet Azerbaijan's powerful opposition group Popular Front announced plans
Welcome to the late news. There's been a drop of more than 1% in the territory's inflation rate.
Good evening. The Governor, Lord Wilson, and the head of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, Liu Ping, say they're confident there will be strong cooperation between
各位，北角地盤工業意外到而家已經有10個工人係死咗，另外2個人情況意外。
Good evening. North Korea says the United States' decision to deploy Patriot anti-missile systems across the border could lead to war.
屯門一帶地區嘅塞車情況到夜晚仍然未見好轉。
多個政府部門聽日會召開緊急會議，研究屯門公路封路嘅問題。
候任財政司曾蔭權話關注本港失業問題。
Good evening. The Egyptian President, Mr. Mubarak, has returned to Cairo after surviving an assassination attempt in Ethiopia. 7 gunmen opened fire on Mr. Mubarak.
Britain pays tribute to Diana, Princess of Wales. Messages of condolence pour in following the death of Mother Teresa. And Tong Chi-hwa returns from a Southeast Asian tour. Good evening. The body of Diana, Princess of Wales, is on its way to her family home of Albrook Park for burial. A visit to Taiwan by China's top envoy may be cancelled. Locally, legislators have voted in favor of tougher drink driving laws. And East Timorese register to vote in a key referendum. Good evening. China says a planned landmark visit to Taiwan by its top cross-strait negotiator may be scrapped unless Taipei clarifies its view.
Three Hong Kong men are killed in a gangland-style attack in Bangkok.
About 2,000 mainland professionals may take up jobs in Hong Kong.
And a strong earthquake rocks the southwestern United States. Good evening. Three Hong Kong men have been shot and killed in a gangland-style attack in Bangkok.
Good evening. Local police officials say steps will be taken to prevent triads from Macau moving.
長沙灣一個地盤巨型橫梁倒冧，一死9傷。
勞工處人員調查之後，下令暫停出事地盤嘅落石屎工序。
南韓一架軍用直升機失事撞落橋。新聞嘅詳細內容，你同長沙灣一個嘅建築地盤咧發生嚴重工業意外，九巴嘅車廠地盤一條佢。
政府尋求世衛提供環境衛生專家調查非典型肺炎。
有被家居隔離嘅人話感到好無奈。
粵港兩地會成立專家組，加強疾病通報機制。歡迎收睇6點鐘新聞。
Good evening. Almost 800 lifeguards staged a show of solidarity in Repulse Bay today to protest sackings and salary cuts.
警方拉咗3個人懷疑製造車禍呃保險賠償。
中銀首日上市收3個4，升咗1成幾。
大昌生係唔係遣返中國最快喺本港時間今晚有決定。
Tony, let's then Gordon Brown take Prime Minister tonight.
North Korea UN inspectors to visit tomorrow.
Donald Good evening.
Time runs out for 23 South Korean hostages kidnapped by Taliban militants in Afghanistan.
Supply of cattle drops, prices go up as local beef vendors threaten drastic action.
Lawmaker Kwok Ka-ki launches stinging attack on government's green paper on political reform. Good evening.
Good evening.
Now it is my honor to mark the start of the Olympic torch relay in Hong Kong.
Beijing on terror alert after 16 policemen are killed in a bloody attack in Xinjiang.
HSBC reports huge drop in profits due to bad loans over US housing crisis.
Number 1 warning signal enforced as another tropical storm heads closer to Hong Kong. Good evening. We start tonight with a deadly attack in the Xinjiang region just 4 days before the Beijing election. Good evening. You're watching the news at 7:30 on ATV. I'm Yondon Latu.
And I'm Hailing Chan. Here's a look at tonight's headlines.
The government agrees to paid rest days for unskilled contract workers, but not meal breaks.
Lawmakers pressure government to allow mainland wives of Hong Kong men to give birth here.
Another powerful aftershock hits Japan as the country marks 1 month since the earthquake and tsunami. The government has bowed to public pressure and agreed to paid rest days for
Good evening. You're watching the main news on ATV. I'm Hailing Chan.
And I'm Vivian Tang. Here are tonight's headlines.
12 elderly shoppers injured after accident on escalator in Tsuen Wan.
Cathay flight makes emergency landing in Russia after smoke found in cabin.
Interpol calls for arrest of owner of substandard breast implant company. 12 elderly people were injured today after
Good evening. You're watching the news at 7:30 on ATV. I'm Raymond Yang.
And I'm Wona Wong. Here's a look at tonight's top stories.
ATV's major investor sells controlling shares to HKTV boss Ricky Wong.
Outgoing URA chief urges authority to put people before profit.
All eyes on Lausanne as Iran nuclear talks reach crucial stage. There's been a major breakthrough for cash-strapped ATV. Good evening. You're watching the news at 7:30 on ATV. I'm Raymond Yang.
And I'm Harminder Singh. Here's a look at tonight's top stories.
Lack of quorum forces debate on copyright amendment bill to be adjourned for a 4th time.
Education Bureau accepts direction of report by Review Committee on Controversial Territory-Wide System Assessment.
And the Zika virus spreads to more countries outside the Americas.
For the fourth time in 2 months, debate on the Copyright Amendment Bill was adjourned due to a lack of quorum, as Pandemocrats remain determined to stall its passage.
The finger-pointing game began immediately.